Jace Holden had been fixing a malfunctioning plasma router for exactly 3 minutes when the world around him folded into something that looked like a kaleidoscope having a panic attack. One blink later, the maintenance platform, the hum of tools, even the sandwich he left on the console, all vanished. Instead, he stood in the center of a throne room that shimmered like someone had tried to decorate the universe using only reflective surfaces and dangerous amounts of crystal. He clutched his wrench to his chest like it was the only thing keeping him alive, because at that moment, it might have been. 5 women stood before him in gowns that glowed softly with shifting constellations. Their long, elegantly pointed ears framed faces that were clearly humanoid, but far too symmetrical for anything produced by natural chaos. They stared at him as though he'd just crawled out of a forbidden swamp. One of them lifted her chin, showing off the kind of aristocratic disdain that could probably kill a man if the angle were sharp enough. "This," she said, "is the human." Another scoffed. "He's holding a primitive tool." "It's emotional support," Jace muttered, hugging it tighter. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the hall. "Children, that is enough." The enormous throne at the far end warmed with golden light as the king rose, draped in regalia that flickered like compressed galaxies. His own ears were long and regal, but his expression hovered somewhere between seriousness and deep, exhausted patience. "The rite is ancient. The selection is binding. The human stands before you because the old systems have chosen him." "The systems are outdated," one of the princesses snapped. "They still think humans have tails." "Hey," Jace said, raising a hand. "We don't not anymore." 5 pairs of alien eyes turned toward him with synchronized judgment. He immediately regretted speaking, breathing, and possibly existing. The king descended the steps, each one chiming softly beneath his boots. "Human Jace Holden, you stand upon Valyrian royal ground. You have been chosen to participate in the bloodline unification rite." Jace blinked. "Is that like jury duty?" The king exhaled slowly through his nose. "In a sense." One of the princesses, shorter, sharper, clearly the one most likely to commit recreational arson, crossed her arms. Her constellation gown flickered irritably. "Father, you cannot be serious. He looks fragile. If I toss him lightly, he may break." Jace took a small step back. "Let's not test that hypothesis." Another princess, the tallest, leaned in and sniffed him. Actually sniffed him. Jace froze, unsure if this was a cultural greeting or the prelude to something requiring first aid. "He smells like iron grease," she announced. "I was working," he said defensively. "This is a work odor." "That is worse," she replied. The king spread his hands. "You 5 mock, yet the right stands. The algorithms identified stagnation in our bloodline. To ensure the prosperity of Valyria, each of you must participate." He turned toward Jace. "And you, human, must cooperate willingly." Jace opened his mouth to object, then realized he had no idea where he was, how he'd get home, or how one refused a glowing galactic king without being vaporized. "I'm gonna need, several clarifying questions." "Later," the king replied. The princesses groaned in deeply dramatic unison. 2 attendants approached and attempted to remove Jace's wrench. He nearly shrieked. They backed off. The king cleared his throat. "Daughters, escort the human to the preparation chambers. Begin your preliminary compatibility sessions." The smallest princess winced. "Father, you can't mean the holophonic empathy chamber. It hasn't been calibrated since the Cosmic Resonance Festival. It might show him our embarrassing thoughts." Jace blinked. "You're what?" Another princess waved her hand dismissively. "We'll disable anything emotional. We don't want the humans seeing our inner landscapes. They are private." "Mine is full of explosions," the shortest princess added proudly. The attendants ushered Jace forward. As he passed the royal sisters, one whispered under her breath, "I can't believe the fate of our empire is tied to someone whose clothing appears to be flammable." "It's standard issue," Jace said. "Fire-resistant, mostly." "We will test that," she replied. He did not like how sincere she sounded. They entered a corridor lined with floating lanterns that adjusted brightness whenever someone passed beneath. Soft, melodic hums pulsed through the walls like the architecture was practicing its scales. Jace stared in awe despite himself. "You may follow," one princess said, walking with her chin high, her movements so smooth she didn't seem to touch the floor. I mean, I literally have to, he muttered. Unless you guys have an exit sign somewhere. She glanced back, one eyebrow raised. A what? Nothing, he sighed. The group stopped before a large door shaped like overlapping starfields. It opened with a whisper, revealing a chamber filled with floating spheres of light and a platform that hummed with energy. This is where we assess resonance compatibility, the tallest princess said. Do not panic if you feel unusual emotional sensations, or if you hear voices that are not yours, or if the spheres attempt to taste your memories. The spheres what? Before he could take another step back, the smallest princess shoved him gently, gently for her, onto the platform. It lit up instantly, reacting to his presence with a soft crackle. Jace yelped. Is it supposed to do that? Not usually, she admitted. Interesting. Light rose around him, scanning. Warm, cool, dazzling, confusing. The spheres bobbed as though gossiping. The princesses gathered, watching carefully. One whispered, he's resonating at a higher level than expected. Another frowned. That shouldn't be possible, humans are chaotic. The smallest smiled. Perhaps that's why. As the chamber pulsed with color, Jace felt a growing certainty. Terrifying, surreal, undeniable. That whatever this rite was, whatever these long-eared alien women expected from him, his life had just veered completely off the map. And there was no universe in which he'd be allowed to turn back. The holophonic empathy chamber decided it hated Jace sometime around the third scan. He could tell because the lights flickered in a pattern that felt personal, like the room was rolling its metaphorical eyes at him. The 5 princesses stood in a semicircle, long ears angled with various shades of skepticism, curiosity, and mild disappointment. They watched the hovering console as it spat out symbols that looked like someone had fed ancient runes into a blender. Princess Aerolith tapped the display. According to this, the human possesses unusually high adaptive resonance. Princess Nira squinted. Is that good? Aerolith shrugged. Potentially. Jace raised a hand, weakly from the platform. Does potentially mean something like, won't explode? Or something like explodes but politely? Vela, the calmest of the sisters, made a soft humming sound. The chamber hasn't blown up in centuries. That is not remotely comforting. Nira leaned closer to him. You survived the first phase. This means we must now begin your cultural alignment training. He blinked. Alignment like spiritual, emotional, yoga. Serene, tall and high school, replied, etiquette. You represent our empire now, human. You must not embarrass us. Does holding a wrench count as embarrassing? Yes, 4 princesses said at once. Vela patted his arm gently. But we will help you hide it in a pocket. The corridor outside the chamber buzzed with shifting walls. They expanded, contracted, and rearranged themselves according to some architectural mood algorithm. Every few seconds, the castle sighed like it was tired of its own opulence. Jace followed the princesses as holographic symbols drifted along the walls, projecting maps that changed whenever he tried to memorize them. I'm starting to think this place is messing with me, he muttered. It is, Serene said. The palace adapts to newcomers. It is testing your navigational instincts. So when the hallway moved earlier. Correct, it judged you unprepared. I was carrying tea. That was an assessment. They reached a wide chamber filled with floating cushions, shimmering projection screens, and a circular table with rotating star charts. Nira snapped her fingers, and the room lit with anticipated chaos. This, she announced proudly, is the compatibility training hall. Jace eyed the furniture. It looks like a meditation room had children with a data center. Aerolith gestured to the shifting screens. You will learn our customs, and we will attempt to learn yours. The first module began when an orb hovered in front of Jace, releasing a beam of text translated into something resembling English. Lesson 1. Valyrian polite greetings. The princesses demonstrated with fluid, graceful motions that looked like a dance choreographed by someone allergic to simplicity. Jace tried to imitate them, but his limbs betrayed him immediately. Instead of a respectable Valyrian salutation, he looked like he was either swimming or escaping invisible bees. The orb recorded his failure with a chime that definitely sounded judgmental. The princesses stared. Vela tried to encourage him. Your movements are unique. Serene pinched the bridge of her nose. He is waving. Why is he waving? That gesture means prepare for diplomatic combat. Jace froze mid-wave. Sorry. I'm just trying to be friendly. Nira grinned. At least the ambassadors will be alert. The second module went worse. It involved a telepathic resonance exercise where each princess placed a hand on a glowing crystal, while Jace placed his own hand on a sixth one. The crystals connected their emotional wavelengths. Theoretically. What happened instead was a briefly shared mental echo revealing that Jace's current emotions were 40% fear, 30% confusion, 20% regret, and 10% craving for his unfinished sandwich. Vela blinked at him. You are hungry during a sacred calibration ritual. I didn't have lunch. Serene sighed. This is going to take cycles. Despite the chaos, the training grew easier with time. The princesses began to understand his humor, and occasionally one of them would laugh at something he said, sometimes unintentionally, which was even better. The tension that once filled the room softened into something lighter, something that felt almost like camaraderie. Nira enjoyed teaching him the palace's chaos protocols, which mostly involved sprinting away from malfunctioning cleaning drones. Aerolith explained star navigation techniques he couldn't hope to replicate, but pretended to follow anyway. Serene taught him posture, though her attempts often ended in her muttering about the inherent rebellion of human shoulders. Vela guided him through emotional harmonization, her calm presence keeping him from panicking whenever the palace hummed too loudly. Lithara, the aloof second eldest, began asking him unexpected questions about Earth, frowning thoughtfully whenever he described something that sounded inefficient. One evening cycle, after countless modules and near disasters, the king summoned them to the observatory hall. It was an immense space where the ceiling dissolved into starlit infinity, giving the illusion of floating in open space. The king studied Jace with quiet curiosity. Your progress is surprising. Jace rubbed his neck. Surprising good, or surprising please don't throw me in space. Both, the king admitted. Aerolith stepped forward. Father, the human shows unusual adaptability. Even the ancient systems respond to him. Nira added, the training orbs chase him now. They do not chase us. That is because they hate me, Jace said. No, Lithara corrected. They find you interesting. Which is worse, Serene muttered. The king raised a hand. The rite continues soon. You must be ready, all of you. A soft ripple moved through the princesses. Some nervous, some annoyed, some contemplative. Jace swallowed. And if I'm not ready? We adapt, Vela said softly. That is the first rule of Valyrian survival. For the first time since arriving, Jace felt something shift, not in the room, not in the palace, but inside himself. A resolve that surprised even him. Maybe he didn't understand this world, or these long-eared royals, or this ancient rite that was threatening to rewrite his life. But he was learning, slowly, messily, but learning, and somehow, impossibly, they were learning him too. The royal palace did not usually tremble. It preferred dignity, floating corridors, shimmering lights, quiet cosmic elegance. Trembling suggested panic, and panic suggested incompetence, which the palace architecture would never admit to. Yet as Jace sprinted down a hallway with 5 long-eared princesses beside him and alarms echoing like angry musical instruments, the palace made an exception. This is fine, Jace yelled, dodging a falling holographic panel that claimed to be experiencing emotional stress. It is not fine, Serene shouted. The stability core has been sabotaged during the rite. This is a disgrace. It is also going to explode, Nira added cheerfully. Possibly soon. Jace clutched his wrench. Why are you smiling? Stress reaction. They reached the central atrium, where the stability core, a towering pillar of light that controlled the palace's gravitational equilibrium, flickered like a dying lantern. Symbols spiraled wildly across its surface, projecting warnings that Vela translated aloud. Critical synchronization failure, collapse imminent, suggested action, scream politely. Good advice, Jace muttered. Lithara gestured toward a collapsed console. The sabotage disabled the rites harmonization links. We cannot complete the ceremony while the palace destabilizes. And worse, Aerolith added, the nobles are gathering in the council hall. They intend to use this disruption to challenge Father's decision. Jace's stomach lurched. So if we don't fix this, not only does the palace fall apart, but the rite fails and your entire political structure collapses. Precisely, Vela said. Great, he sighed. I miss my sandwich. Serene pointed to the flickering core. The only way to stabilize it quickly is to complete the resonance calibration manually. That sounds like something I'm not qualified to do. You aren't, Aerolith confirmed. But you are unpredictable, and unpredictability is what the saboteurs did not account for. Vela placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. We will guide you. Nira shoved him toward the core. Try not to die. I'll put that on my to-do list. The platform below the core activated under his feet, glowing in spirals that pulsed in uneven rhythms, as if trying to match his heartbeat but giving up halfway. The 5 princesses stepped into their own array, forming a circle around him. Their gowns shimmered in synchrony, constellations brightening as their resonance fields aligned. Jace, Vela said softly, when the core connects, you may feel pressure in your mind. Or heat, or possibly the sensation of being stretched like taffy. That seems concerning. Only briefly. Still concerning. The core surged. Light descended like a column of liquid starlight, enveloping Jace in a warm shock. His thoughts flickered, fear, confusion, the faint echo of a very nice lunch he would never eat, and then something else. 5 distinct emotional wavelengths threading through his mind. Calm, sharp, fiery, analytical, mischievous. The princesses. Their resonance linked with his, weaving into a single harmonized pattern. The core steadied, humming in a steady, confident rhythm. Then the sabotage countermeasure activated. A surge of destabilizing energy jolted through the chamber, and the resonance began to unravel. Symbols raced across the projections in warning. Aerolith gasped. Nira swore in 3 languages. Serene shouted instructions over the rising hum. Jace, hold the alignment steady. I don't know how. Yes, you do, Vela insisted. Your emotions shape the resonance. Emotions. I have like 1,000 of them right now. Then pick one. I choose panic. That will destabilize us further, Lithara said flatly. A beam of chaotic energy shot toward the group. Without thinking, Jace raised his wrench like a shield. The beam hit it, rebounded, ricocheted around the chamber, and neutralized itself in a burst of harmless sparkles. The princesses stared. Nira whispered, Did he just parry a destabilization surge with a primitive tool? Jace blinked. Emotional support wrench, told you. The core flickered again, weaker this time. He felt the resonance slipping, threads unraveling like frayed cables. Desperation welled up, not fear, not confusion, determination. He focused, grounding himself in the strange, chaotic trust that had grown between him and the 5 women standing with him. The resonance pulsed, steadied, then wove itself tighter than before. Their emotions aligned, not in perfect harmony but in balance. Human unpredictability and Valyrian precision merging into something new. The core stabilized. The palace stopped trembling. A soft chime echoed, harmonization restored. The princesses exhaled. Aerolith sagged with relief. Serene wiped her forehead with regal annoyance. Nira punched the air triumphantly. Vela smiled, warm and proud. Lithara nodded in approval, her version of enthusiasm. But the moment of peace was short-lived. A holographic projection lit up, showing the council hall. Noble factions had gathered in uproar, shouting over one another. They intend to overturn the right, Lithara said. Jace stepped off the platform. Then let's go. The princesses blinked. You wish to face the council? Serene asked. No, he said honestly. But I'm done letting things happen to me. I'm part of this now, right? So I'm going to act like it. Aerolith exchanged a glance with her sisters. Something changed in their eyes, respect, maybe even pride. The council hall doors burst open as they entered. Nobles turned, ready to shout, accuse, challenge. Jace walked forward, steady, calm, no longer hiding behind jokes, though one slipped out anyway. Hi, sorry I'm late. Your palace tried to explode, but we worked that out. Murmurs spread. The king rose, watching carefully. Jace took a breath. I know I wasn't your first choice. I wasn't my first choice. But the right chose me. And whether you like humans or not, I'm here, I'm working, I'm learning. And your princesses, they're helping me more than I deserve. They're stronger together than any prophecy could predict. If your future depends on unity, then maybe this whole strange tradition makes more sense than it seems. Silence. Then the king nodded once, slow and approving. The right stands, he declared. And for the first time since arriving in this impossible place, Jace felt the ground, floating or not, truly steady beneath his feet. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He belonged. And the long-eared princesses who once mocked his species now stood beside him, not out of duty, but because something real had formed between them, something chosen, not forced. The future of Valyria began in that moment, shaped by unlikely bonds, restored stability, and one human who had learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward with it anyway, even if armed only with a wrench.